Big changes are coming to the real estate industry, and they are going to affect the way that you buy and sell a home. So, whether you are a current homeowner or you are looking to purchase soon, let's go over the changes, what they are, how they're going to affect you, and honestly, why they are happening. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I'm Jen, your Delaware Realtor. I'm a local Delaware real estate agent that basically covers the entire state of Delaware because honestly, we're pretty small. So whether you're looking to buy or sell in Delaware, I would absolutely love the opportunity to help you. My information is down below in the description, so please feel free to send me an email. All right, so we have had some significant changes that are coming to the real estate industry. Honestly, these changes, this is the biggest change that the real estate market has seen in over 50 years. And I have wanted to make this video for honestly a few months now, but I wanted to allow the National Association of Realtors to kind of, get their stuff together and figure out where we were actually headed. So a little backstory, the National Association of Realtors, or what I'm going to refer to as NAR, has been in some lawsuits and they have settled. So essentially what is happening is there are going to be changes to the commission. Now, it is for some reason, and I didn't even realize that this was a situation, there was this notion that we had a standard commission of 6%. I do not know where that number came from. I did not know that there was any kind of standard. And the reason is because it is against our code of ethics to even discuss commissions among agents. So what I charge and what some other agent charges, I had no idea, basically because we're not allowed to talk about it. And it was never a standard commission. It is always and is still negotiable. But some sellers thought that it was standard and they filed a class action lawsuit against NAR and a couple other different brokerages, and essentially NAR settled. So as of August 17th, the real estate industry is changing. So what does that mean for you? So let me just go back in the past a little bit. So it used to be that if you are or you were selling a home, the seller would pay both sides of the transaction, meaning they would pay the listing agent and they would pay the buyer's agent. And this was sometimes split evenly, whether it be 2.5%, 2.5%, 3%, 3%, whatever it was. Sometimes listing agents would take a little bit more and offer the buyer's agent a little less. It really just depended on the agent and how they wanted to run their business. That commission also would be on the MLS, so the multiple listing service. So it would be advertised to buyers agents what they were getting as a commission in the MLS. So here is what is changing. Now, there is no longer going to be this agreement between broker and broker where the listing agent is splitting their commission. It is now going to be directly either with the buyer and the buyer's agent, or the seller and the buyer's agent, or the seller and the buyer, who then goes to the buyer's agent. So there are a couple different things. So let's just kind of walk through everything. So the process of selling your home, it largely remains unchanged. Essentially, you are still going to have a listing agreement with your listing agent, and that listing agent is going to represent you as the seller throughout the entire transaction. If you are a buyer, there is now going to be a buyer representation form that you will need to sign as a buyer with your buyer's agent in whether you want to view or put a contract in on a home. Let me just reiterate that. If you want to view a home, you will need to sign this buyer representation form prior to seeing the home. Now, I've heard many buyers say, well, I don't want to sign this buyer representation form, and I will just find a buyer's agent who will show me the home without signing this form. As of August 17th, any agent that is caught without having a buyer sign a buyer representation form and showing them a property is subject to a $10,000 fine and possibly losing their license. So what you will find is that there will not be an agent that essentially will just show you a property without having you sign some type of agreement, whether it be a touring agreement, whether it be a buyer representation agreement. There's a couple different forms, and I'm going to do a video on each different form so we know exactly what you're signing. But essentially, you will not be able to go on Zillow, call up any random agent and ask them to show you a property without signing this agreement that basically says this is what they charge as a buyer agent, and either you will pay that commission or it will somehow be negotiated with the seller to pay for their commission. Now, I know that this probably is coming out of honestly left field. And I mean, it's a lot to take in. And it honestly, buyers have to truly think about this. You actually have to think about who is your buyer agent when you're walking into a property, because ultimately, if you put an offer in on that house, I mean, you kind of have to either have that money to pay for that commission or somehow negotiate it into your offer to have the seller pay for it. So that's like the biggest change that's coming, but there are a couple other things that we should go over. Okay, so let's talk about the decoupling of the compensation. All right, so traditionally, when you sold a home, the seller would pay both the listing agent and the buyer's agent. There are 4 different ways that a buyer's agent could be paid and all of the different scenarios. So the first one being that it stays the same, that the seller pays both the listing agent and the buyer's agent. And then honestly, nothing really changes. The second scenario is that the seller pays the listing agent and the buyer pays the buyer's agent. The third scenario is that the seller pays a portion of your buyer's agent commission and you make up the difference. And the fourth scenario is that the seller pays a concession, or what's also known as seller's assistance, to you as the buyer, and you use that concession in order to pay your agent. So there's 4 different scenarios on how the buyer's agent commission is taken care of. So either the seller's paying it or the buyer's paying it, or it's a combination, or there's seller concessions in there. Essentially, that's kind of how it's all played out. Now, you're probably wondering, well, how does this work with my mortgage? And I'm going to make a whole separate video breaking down how exactly everything is working. But I just want to put it out there that these are the changes that are coming. And the biggest thing, like I said, is you as a buyer, you are going to need to sign this buyer agency agreement prior to seeing homes. And this is honestly where you need to make sure that you as the buyer know your representation, would like to work with your representation, and know that somehow the buyer's agent is going to be compensated, whether it be from the seller or it be from the buyer. All right, so the last thing that I want to bring up is no longer is the buyer's agent commission being advertised on the MLS. So previously, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you had a listing on the MLS listed with an agent, the buyer's agent commission would be on the MLS. Honestly, you wouldn't really see that as the public. It would just be on the MLS basically for agents to see. Now, that can no longer be on the MLS at all. Nothing can't be in the remarks. It can't be in the little box that normally says it. It is completely removed from the MLS. Now, does that mean that it cannot be advertised off the MLS? No. it can be advertised off of the MLS. Meaning, so if you have an open house, or if you have some type of flyer or anything else like that, that can say that you are offering a buyer agent commission. But ultimately, it might be in your best interest to keep that between you, the seller, and your listing agent, so that you can use it in negotiations. Because essentially what's going to happen is that a buyer's agent is going to submit an offer. So there's going to be the agreement of sale, and then there's going to be a separate document that is essentially the compensation for the buyer's agent. And this is all going to be negotiated. And then this will be on your seller net sheet, and you'll be able to go over this with your listing agent, and then you'll be able to look at all the numbers essentially and other terms of the contract. So keep in mind, you're going to have different negotiations throughout the transaction. But ultimately, just know that this is what is changing as of August 17th. And going forward, I will have many other videos essentially that explain the forms, explain how this is going to work with your mortgage if you are financing, how it's going to work honestly if you're cash, and how the real estate industry is just changing as a whole. So some questions that you may have. Are commissions fixed? No, they never have been. They never will be. This has always been negotiable and is continuing to be negotiable. Another question that's probably going to come up is, do I need to pay a commission? No, you do not need to pay a commission. But just know that if you want representation in a transaction, a very large transaction, it is just like any other professional service. So if you pay your CPA, or you pay your hairstylist, or you pay whoever for a service, there's going to be some kind of fee involved. So just know that no, you don't need to pay a commission, but if you do want representation in one of probably the biggest transactions of your life, there is going to be some type of fee involved. The third frequently asked question is, do I need to sign a buyer representation form? Yes, absolutely. You are going to need to sign this form from here on out. As of the 17th of this month, this is what changes ultimately. There is going to be some type of form, whether it be a touring agreement, a buyer agency representation form, or any type of agreement, is essentially going to say that and here's the thing, it could last for a day, it could last for 6 months. This is all going to be negotiated with your buyer's agent. So this is why I say, make sure that you know your buyer's agent and that you trust them and that you are comfortable with them and you are doing your due diligence and honestly vetting your buyer's agent, not just calling someone on Zillow and taking the first person that comes and calls you, right? The fourth question that we're most likely going to see is, does this apply to all types of markets and all different properties? Yes, this applies to all residential properties across the United States. So whether you're in Delaware or whether you're looking in Maryland or even California, they all have this agreement now. It is across the board. It is all changing. And this is because of the lawsuit and the settlement between the National Association of Realtors and the sellers that have the class action lawsuit. And number 5, can I still work with my agent? Absolutely. If you are currently working with an agent and you are a buyer, you will need to sign this form, but you can absolutely still work with your agent and you can negotiate, what their compensation is, how it's going to go moving forward, whether you are able to pay their compensation or you're going to ask the seller to pay for it or ask the seller to pay a credit towards it. There's different ways and creative ways to work with your agent and make sure that they still get compensated. So going forward, like I said, I'm going to make videos breaking down the forms, showing you how it's going to work, but I just wanted to put this video out there because I know that August 17th is coming very quickly. So if we are working together, just know that this form is coming. I will bring it up and I will explain the entire form. And if you are a buyer that is looking to purchase in Delaware, I would absolutely love the opportunity to help you. Once again, we will be going over this form together one-on-one. There is a link down below in the description for a one-on-one buyer consultation with me, and we'll go over everything that you need to know and how this works with a mortgage and everything else. if you are a seller that is looking to sell your property in Delaware, I would also love the opportunity to help you. Once again, we will go through all of this in our listing presentation, and I will make sure that you understand every part of the negotiations and what is going on in the transaction. If you have any questions about what I just went over, please send me an email or comment down below, because honestly, someone else may have that same question, and it's great to get the conversation going down in the comments. Once again, I really hope this video helped. If it did, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Hey, if you are thinking about moving to Delaware, you should definitely check out this video right here. And if you would love to tour Delaware new construction homes with me, check out this playlist right here. And don't forget, subscribe to my channel.